Nigel Farage's run of good news seriously stalled this weekend. One of his MPs said he acts like he's the Messiah. Nigel Farage's team reported their own MP to the police. A civil war, it seemed, had broken out in a party of only 5 MPs. It all has strong echoes of clashes which have damaged Nigel Farage's previous political ventures. Could history be repeating itself? Is the Reform UK surge about to be reversed?
We have been subject over the last months to these frequent outbursts that we've had, and the public haven't seen it, and we try to cover it up. But frankly...
That's quite a thing to say.
Well, you know, you don't expose every problem you've got to the outside world.
You can see why people would scratch their heads and think, well, that's a bit fishy.
Well,
he only gets referred to
the police
when he's criticised your leadership.
No, that's not quite true.
And called you the Messiah.
And the police have announced today that they are actually conducting a full investigation into that.
And you're not the Messiah.
Which is regrettable.
And you don't think you're the Messiah?
No, not really.
Nigel Farage's optimism derives from the state of the opinion polls, even allowing for his party rolling backwards a bit after the infighting of the last few days. We're looking at a situation, according to the February average of polls, where all 3 parties, Reform, Labour and the Conservatives, are in the 20s in terms of their share of the national vote. And in this kind of scenario, a 3-way split, it only requires Nigel Farage to get his tally up a few points and his number of MPs could go up significantly. If he could get his share of the vote up 5 points or more, he could be looking at a majority of MPs in the next Parliament.
I think if there was ever to be one of those once every 50, 100-year moments when something seismic happens in British politics, that it's going to be now, yeah.
And you'd be number 10?
If it happened, yes.
This is quite swish.
It's nice, actually.
Nearly
Yeah.
top of the skyscraper.
Yeah, it's actually quite inspiring looking at it.
Rupert Lowe said he wasn't sure Nigel Farage could lead a party rather than a protest movement.
He's never been to this office. He doesn't even know what we're doing. He's criticising something he doesn't know. And he's being destructive. You'll have to ask him why.
Nigel Farage says his new headquarters is proof this political project will be different.
You're building a machine.
Literally, and that's really what you're seeing.
And this is the hub of it.
Yeah.
And the most important bit maybe is vetting down the other end?
Vetting is crucial.
Which means what? Web rinsing?
Yeah. I mean,
finding out whether people have said appalling things on social media?
Yeah, that's obviously one of the key
That's the
parts
core
of
thing.
it.
Because that's brought you down before.
Oh, Lord. I mean, the general election, it did us enormous damage.
Have we had a few bad apples? We have.
Headlines hurt the cause, candidates stood down. At times it was a daily event. That's the Achilles heel, you feel, of...
It is, and do you know
party.
why? Do you know why? Because our candidates will be judged by a very different standard.
Well, some people would say the reason is because some extremist people are drawn to your party and want to be candidates for your party. That's why it's your Achilles heel.
There'll be some that want to come to us, of course. Just as Labour have the same problem with some very, very extreme people.
Spring sunshine in Cornwall. Building a party machine takes Nigel Farage around the country. Here, protesters gave him a hostile reception. Some even tried to stop access to the party's rally. Nigel Farage is convinced he, not Rupert Lowe, is the pull at events like this one, talking to some of the party's 200,000 brand new members.
I joined Christmas Day and I thought that would be my present to the nation.
My main reason for joining is, unfortunately, the immigration.
I felt that Conservatives have morphed into Labour and that we need something more hard right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very big welcome for Nigel Farage.
In rallies like this one, Nigel Farage has been trying to convert new members into activists, delivering leaflets, standing as candidates for their councils.
Are you ready to do more? Well, please let me ask you. Stand up if you're prepared to be a candidate. Stand up if you're prepared to deliver leaflets. Stand up if you're prepared to speak to your neighbours. Stand up if you want to help others to join. Stand up. Are we going to fight for reform? Do we want our country back? This is incredible. Thank you.
Nigel Farage believes he's learned vital lessons about how you need a local council base to win parliamentary seats and the art of pavement politics from a rival party. I've spoken to people working with you in this party and they say they've learned an awful lot from the Liberal Democrats and how they do it.
Yeah.
I was even told this book is by the Lib Dem president. It's a Bible on some desks around here.
Yeah, yeah.
Your book's on their desk.
Shh, don't tell. Don't tell my Lib Dem colleagues that.
Do they look like they've learnt the right lessons?
If you look at, say, the polls, Reform are very polarising. Some people really like them, lots of people really not.
So making them activists, turning up on their doorstep...
is a bit of a gamble, in a way. Whilst with Lib Dems, in a way, we are many people's second choice. And so,
inoffensive centrist dads. People can cope with that on the doorstep.
I would put it a little bit more positively than that. But it is quite different, therefore, from that lottery of, are you turning up on the doorstep as somebody who really dislikes reform?
He wants you to be like the Lib Dems, building up local forces and then getting MPs in the constituencies.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go for the MP, but local council, yes.
I will give serious order. If they need me, I'm there.
Rupert Lowe wanted Nigel Farage to push for mass deportations of all illegal migrants and said Tommy Robinson deserved credit for things he'd done. Nigel Farage sounds more conscious. He needs to reach out to voters, not instinctively comfortable with his party. There are various types of populist party on the right across Europe. Which one do you look at and think, there's the template, I can do a bit of that?
I'm not a populist.
Which one do you like?
I'm not a populist.
I've heard you call yourself a populist.
I've realised I'm not. I've realised that's a mistake.
This was last week you called yourself a populist.
I am not a populist. If you think about the issues that I champion...
Are you rebranding in front of our eyes?
If you think about the issues that I've championed, they've nearly all been small minority issues.
It sounds to me like you're trying to create a little bit of distance between yourself and these parties, for understandable political reasons, because some of them are quite scary to British voters.
No. There's no need to draw the distance.
At least Trump is attempting to negotiate peace, and I welcome and applaud that.
We came to your Cornwall conference.
Yeah.
You talked about Donald Trump in front of that audience there, all members. You got applause, but there were quite a few who didn't like the Trump lines, weren't sure about
No, I think that's true.
all. And I suspect in Britain right now there's a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's true.
How are you going to keep your distance from him?
Well, he's running a party in America and I'm running a party in
Yes,
the
but
UK. And we have common interests.
Your political blood brothers, he could seriously, maybe that's him, he could seriously affect your popularity.
Yes, I've supported Donald Trump. I think America's better with him. You're right at the moment, the Zelensky row, everything else, but of course...
British voters think he's obnoxious.
Fine,
huge majority of them.
Well, they're not going to vote for him, are they?
You're all signed up members of the party, pretty much. Hands up who used to vote Conservative.
One challenge is winning the ex-Labour blue-collar vote when the leadership's economic policy instincts are distinctly on the right. In another accusation strongly denied, the party leadership referred multimillionaire MP Rupert Lowe to the police for threatening its party chairman, Zia Youssef, also a multimillionaire. Your background, Goldman Sachs, running a business that helps millionaires have even cushier lives than they already have. This is meant to be the anti-elitist party. It doesn't quite ring true.
Reform does have people in its leadership team who have real-world experience of running businesses, of making important systems-level decisions. We're very proud of that, but we also have a lot of people who come from lots of different backgrounds.
Get a group of voters in a northern town and say to them, should people who earn £2 million a year pay more tax? What do you think they're going to say? Yes. But if you ask a group of voters in a northern English town, what are their top 10 priorities? Taxing the rich is not even going to feature. We've got to get back to thinking that hard work is good. Forget all this work from home, 4-day week, work-life balance.
Going off to the pub for lunch on a working day.
Well, it depends how long.
3-hour lunch.
Depends how long your working day is. I get the tease, but it depends how long the working day is. Sadly, I'm now reduced to sandwiches at the office most days.
A lot of Reform's target seats for the general election are in traditional Labour areas that went Tory for Boris Johnson, then swung back to Labour.
A lot of the former mining communities are areas where we're particularly strong.
Labour strategists admit they've been enjoying Nigel Farage's discomfort this weekend, but they're not convinced Rupert Lowe is a big enough beast to inflict lasting damage on the leader of Reform.
Keir Starmer's told people privately he thinks there's a 1 in 4 chance of a populist right breakthrough at the next general election.
and he's been moving on to some of Nigel Farage's terrain, borrowing reforms, graphics and messaging, filming deportees and switching international aid money into defence, which was actually a Reform UK policy.
To quote a friend of mine, make Britain great again. Thank you.
The resignation of the Labour MP Mike Amesbury, convicted of assault, means an early test for Nigel Farage's party machine in Runcorn, the first by-election of Keir Starmer's government, and a seat where Reform won second place in the general election.